It's another Friday at 5:30 in the p.m. And of course, this is your host for Hotline 21, Danny K. Davis. I just got off the airplane and I've been rushing, trying my best to get here. And here I am. I am so delighted. And I couldn't believe it. The sun was shining. Made me want to sing. The sun is shining and there's plenty of light. Well, it's so good to be home. You can travel to Europe. You can go to Italy. You can go to Rome. But there's nothing like saying, point me straight to home. City of Chicago, the city of the big shoulders. Sitting by the side of a decent-sized lake. Founded by an African-American fella, John Baptiste Point du Sable. For a long time, the third largest city in the United States of America. But of course, we've been losing population. Things go around and come around. And you know, the Bible speaks to some of those things. It says that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. But no matter what, Chicago still remains a world-class city, a top city, a city that you can come to from wherever you come in the world. And if you're willing to work hard, struggle, be engaged, be involved, you can make your way. A lot of things have been going on in our country today, and it's hard to talk about anything without talking about politics. I make it a point not to talk about partisan electoral politics on this show. But that does not mean that we can't talk about political scenarios and things that are happening. You never hear me endorsing a candidate or saying I'm for this person or I'm for that person or having this person on or that person extolling their virtues. But we can talk about situations. And we got a call, so we'll go right to the phone and take that call. And caller, are you there?
Good evening, Dr. Davis, U.S. Representative 7th District. Well, there's a lot of people said that we needed a businessman in the White House, and we got it. And how many times I have said, I try to base things on the facts and figures and everything, and you cannot run the government like a business. Now, this virus break out in the U.S. like it does in China and Japan, and this guy in the White House made this statement based on the fact he don't call on people unless he actually need them. And he have cut the CDC budget. If I'm lying by anything, stop me dead in my tracks. Now, we are somewhat unprepared because why this guy in the White House cut the budget.
Well, let me ask you now, you say we're not prepared. What do you mean about being prepared for what?
I'll give you a good example. Say it was someone in Chicago, and they wondered whether or not they caught the virus. Guess what? They got to send the results to Atlanta. Why we can't have those sort of detective devices, whatever research or test they need to do right here in Chicago? When you got to sit back and wait for results, that's a delay. And this guy in the White House, he the cause of it. Now, he going to put somebody else up front as the fall guy, and he put his vice president up as the fall guy. What does he know about health? This guy have a history. If I'm lying, stop me dead in my track. He put people in positions that don't know nothing. Just like he got Ben Carson, the Secretary of Housing. That doesn't make any sense when it made much more sense to make him the Surgeon General. I can't think of the lady that the Secretary of Education, the woman don't know nothing about education. Now here he's going to put Mike Pierce as the front guy. Once again, people say we need a businessman to run the White House, and this is what we're going to get, and this is the results. And how many times I have said, you cannot run the government like a business. You can use business principles and theories, but when it all comes down to it, you cannot run the government like a business.
So maybe you just don't like businessmen.
Well, if I'm wrong, I haven't heard you correct me on anything, you cannot run the government like a business, because look what's happening right now in this health crisis. He said, well, I don't call on people till we need them. There's an old saying, you prepare for war in time of peace. Take care.
All right, well, that sounds like something that my father used to say. My father had all these little pithy sayings. Actually, I used one of them this morning when we were debating the bill that we passed out of the House today to try to vamp down on teen smoking and vaping, and so we are seeking to outlaw some of these fruity flavors and all this stuff on e-cigarettes. But the real deal is that no matter how you cut it, the whole purpose of the bill is to try and cut down on teen smoking. I made the point that no matter how you do it, whether it's inhaling, whether you smoking e-cigarettes, cigars, and of course much of the debate centered around some comparison. There were members of the House who took the position that we seem to be doing more to try and regulate tobacco than we're trying to regulate marijuana. And it's an interesting discussion. Of course, I voted for the bill, and I voted for the bill because we have thousands and thousands of young people who are experimenting with vaping. And we have thousands and thousands of young people who are still smoking cigarettes. And I don't think either one is healthy or good. And so I voted in favor, naturally, of the bill. And I spoke against it because my committee is one of the committees that affects what we were trying to accomplish. So I thought it was a good day in terms of that. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, Connie Davis?
James, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Oh, okay. Now, that violence in Chinatown, now, the only person that can stop it is God. But the rich and famous, they cannot stop that. The rich and famous cannot stop that. Donald Trump can't stop that, but the person the man upstairs might can stop it. But he can have all the money in the world and all that. But God can stop that stuff in Chinatown. That all that violence. Donald Trump might be the rich man. He might be powerful, but God is more powerful than anybody on earth that I know.
Oh, I would certainly agree with every bit of that. And you know, wealth is something that many people seek and try to get. And I don't think there's anything wrong with people living the best life that they could live. Quite frankly, one of the patrons in the Bible, much of his story is about being wealthy. Job was the richest man that had ever lived in the land of Uz. And Job was not only a wealthy man, but Job was a good man. So being wealthy does not necessarily mean that you necessarily can't be good. We studied about the poor rich man a lot. That is, a man who had plenty of material things, but was poor still. You see, blessed are the poor, for they may inherit the earth. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are they who seek righteousness. So I'm not against people being rich. I've never had a great desire to be what you call rich. But I like, a good glass of Kool-Aid every once in a while. I mean, I ain't opposed to having good stuff, And give me a shot of hot water, cornbread, some turnip greens, and hey, I'm some okra, and you can even cut up some green tomatoes, and I'm with that. I like a good meal. I like to be in a warm place. I like to have a decent place to live. I don't want to be driving a car and wondering if it's going to stop every time I get to the red light. So you need what you need in order to live comfortably and well. But you also can share what you've got with anybody else. Let's go to the phone. Caller, are you there?
How you doing today, Congressman?
I'm good.
Listen, it's a great day to be alive on God's green earth. Listen, something what Joe said has something for Cindy about it. Listen, Joe, you must know something about business, but he never did know anything about politics, and he surrounded himself with the wrong people. That was his point. I mean, he did that wrong. And but anyway, listen, it is what it is. It's over with. One thing we need to do, vote. That's all we have to do. Have 4 years of him. You don't want another 4 more years. So everybody got to vote. Get him out.
Find yourself somebody that you can vote for.
Anybody.
Please.
Anybody. Hell, I'm going to write in and say you could run for president. Listen, but let me get out there, because my voice is not too strong today, but it's always good to talk to you. So let me get out there so I can hear your response, and thanks for taking the call.
And thank you so much. And I do know that there are a lot of people trying to make up their mind about who they're going to vote for president. They have not decided. And sometimes I have a little, not a poem, but it's a little quip that I sometimes use if I'm making speeches and saying something and trying to say something to people who have a hard time deciding what to do. And I say, this little seed lay on the ground and begin to sprout, and said to itself, which one of the flowers do I want to be when I come out? He says, well, I could be a rose, but roses are too red. And of course, violets would be all right, but they're too blue. And of course, chrysanthemums would never do. So he lay there and commiserated this little superfluous seed and woke up the next morning and came out a weed. And so if you find something wrong with everybody, and something is wrong with everything, you may end up definitely with something that you don't want. And so what I'm saying is that if you find something wrong with all these people who are trying to get you to select them, and you can't find any of them that you want to select, then you might end up kind of like the young fella who had two girlfriends. And since he had two girlfriends, he's trying to decide which one he was going to marry. And so he wrote himself a little poem. He says, I've got a love for Angeline, but I also love Caroline too. Now I can't marry both of them, so what am I going to do? He says, Angeline can cook, and my God, how Caroline can sew. They are both so gorgeous and beautiful and intelligent. I said, Lord, I just don't know which way to go. Of course, he never got married. So if you can't find any of these candidates that you like, you may end up being left out. Because if you don't vote, you are definitely going to be left out. And so find somebody. You ought to be able to find somebody that you can put a little bit of faith and confidence in. Somebody. There's no perfect people. I mean, I don't know anybody that is perfect. There may be somebody. There may be. I just don't know them. And since I don't know any perfect people, then I'm going to select somebody, and I'm going to put my trust or some trust in them. And then if they don't come out to be what I wanted them to be, if they don't come out all right, I will still be able to say that I did the best that I could do. We're going to go right back to the phone. Caller, are you there?
Yes, good evening, and I wish all your listeners, if they are not registered, to become registered. Get out there and register and vote, and make sure, if you got new neighbors in the neighborhood, put a smile on your face. Take them and make sure that they get registered and vote. We need to vote for our congressmen and all the people who are serving us and doing a well-deserving job. But now it's up to us. It's time for us to turn around and look in the mirror and make a change if we don't like what we see. And thank you so much. And keep up the good work, Congressman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I think sometimes about Abraham Lincoln, and there was a period when Abraham Lincoln was, being beleaguered, and he still was keeping on. People were writing, the historians were saying that his generals was drinking too much whiskey, that Ulysses Grant was a big whiskey drinker, and the war wasn't going well. And yet Abraham Lincoln would stand tall. And so somebody asked him, say, Mr. President, how do you manage to keep your sanity and all of this stuff going on? And Lincoln said to him, say, when it comes to making decisions, I just do the best that I can. And if the end comes out all right, people will swear what a great guy I am. But if the end comes out wrong, a legion of angels swearing that I was right won't make a bit of difference. Do the best that you can. Caller, are you there?
Hello, am I on the air?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with everything you said because we all have the power. We must all vote. And you quoted some Bible things, and I know you've been a congressman for as long as I can remember. And I've always lived in Chicago. So thank you for your service to our country, and I agree with everything you say.
Well, thank you. You know, I am so delighted when people tell me that they listen and watch this show. I was at a senior citizen building a couple weeks ago over at the Rawls building, and a lady came over and told me, and I haven't written back to her yet because I promised I was going to send her the poem that she's asked about, but I got her address, and I'm going to write it down and send the poem to her just as soon as I can. But I was so excited when she told me that she had heard me talking about this poem that my mother taught us and that she would like to have it. And so I'm going to send it to her without a doubt. Caller, you on the air. Go right ahead.
First of all, I want to take care of a little housekeeping. Steve, thank you for calling in. You're getting a little bit stronger. I want to say once again, people keep saying Trump is such a great businessman. If I'm wrong about anything, you can correct me. Now, how the heck, if you're gambling and you have out of 100 numbers, you got 95 of the numbers, odds in your favor. Trump Casino, guess what? It went out, it filed for bankruptcy. Now, you have a casino and the odds in your favor, and you file for bankruptcy. And let's don't forget, there was other business as well that Trump had where he filed bankruptcy 3 times. And don't forget about Trump University. How many people got suckered into that as well? Once again, people come saying that we need a businessman. Look at the construction companies he have had, that he had to file bankruptcy, and all the subcontractors that filed lawsuits against him. He was very vindictive. He made them went out of business. Because why? Because they wanted their money. Once again, people come saying that we needed a businessman as a president. He didn't run his business so well, so what make you think he's going to run the government as well? That's all I want to say.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You know, we've only got 2 minutes left, so let me try to kind of wrap this up. You know, individuals don't make all the difference, but individuals make some difference. And if you can get a group of individuals to agree that they are doing something together, the likelihood of being successful is much greater than if a person just say, I'm by myself. I'm going to do this, I that. If we can turn some of the I's into we's and us's, then I think we become far more successful. I would rather do something with somebody than to do something alone. Let me mention, though, there are several funerals tomorrow. Judge Dorothy Jones at Grant AME Church, member of our community. Mr. Carl Walton, the father of Barbara Deere, who is the wife of Commissioner Dennis Deere. My good friend Dennis Hood passed away, and his funeral is coming up. But to all those families who are experiencing deaths and have experienced deaths in their families, we extend to them our greatest condolences. Be sure that you're registered. Be sure that you vote. We look to see you next Friday. And until then, do something good for somebody other than yourself. And you'll find that you're also doing it for you. See you next week.